Welcome to VLearn. Session 6 Marketing Management, Salesforce Management. Topic cover: Introduction, Need for Good Salesmen, Sales Force Decision, Sales Force Size, Recruitment and Selection, and Training. First, the introduction part. This is these. If we were discussing about the sales force management, that means we were basically focusing on the sales management, how we were going to manage the sales of the business organization. That is why sales management is the business discipline which is focused on the practical applications of a sales technique and the management of the firm's sales operation. It is an important business function as it a net sale through the sale of a product and services. The resulting profit drives most commercial business. So these are also typically the goals and performance indicators of a sales management. So this is a kind of a discipline through which it is focusing on the applications of sales technique and the management of a firm's sales operations, who were basically trying to operate the sales of the organization, how we were going to perform on the sales, how we were performing in the market according to the sales requirement of the market. All of these things going to be conducted in the sales management. So sales management is basically defining the management of a firm personal selling function. It is more towards the personal side because the sales management is consist of the sales force, the people who were working as a salesperson, the people who were working as an executive, marketing executives of the organization. That is why the sales force management understanding leads towards the sales management understanding. Now, need for the salesman, what are the various qualities which are required to be in the good salesman? If we were discussing about the marketing techniques, if we were discussing about the sales execution, so yes, sales force management is all about managing the sales force of the organization. That means the people of the organization. So these managing the sales force leads towards the further needs or a quality of the good personnel. That means what kind of a good quality of personnel we required in it. So the first one is the ability to estimate the customer needs and desire. That means he is alert, that person is very much alert, quick, or determine or quickly, easily determine what the customer needs and the best way to sell it. कस्टमर की नीड्स क्या हैं, उसे किस तरीके से या उसे कितनी क्विकली सॉल्व आउट किया जा सकता है, बेस्ट तरीका क्या है उसको सॉल्व करने का, ये सब जो होता है दिस कम्स इनटू द एबिलिटी टू एस्टिमेट द कस्टमर नीड्स एंड डिज़ायर. Then the ambition part. Ambition part is basically it's likely to do a good job and its intention in getting ahead with your company. That means when the person is so much interested, so much motivated towards the particular job, it further leads towards the benefit to the company. Then the appearance part. Yes, appearance means a lot today. So the successful salesman is near and organized. So he present himself well in a person and keep his way, his decks, his book, his area to be very neat and clean and ready to use. In that thing basically shows about the availability, or we can say the cleanliness of the person's part. So that comes into the appearance. Then the business sense. Business sense is basically he understands that you are in a business to make a profit and quickly learns the ins and outs of your organization. So in that terms, it is required to have in a sales men. That means they were required to understand about all the inputs and outputs which is required in the business sense. Then the courtesy. Courtesy is basically it is reveal a sense desire to help the customer and treat them as a guest even when he is visit their place of in a business. In terms of it is basically showing the desires of how they treat the people, how they treat the customer, how they courtesize or how polite the person is. That comes into the courtesy. Then the creativeness. Creativeness is more towards the imagination, the visions, the ability to create the ideas and make the sense or the person's performance very much dynamic. So that comes into the creativeness. Then the courtesy. Courtesy is more towards the how the person is want to learn all he can about his job, his product, and his customer. So that comes into the courtesy part. Then enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is basically there is nothing that can be drawn away from the prospect buying interest more than the of that salesman. That means dullness should be left at home. A salesman must be ready, must be very much enthusiastic for their sale, for their job. So that comes into the enthusiasm. Then the figure sense. Figure sense is basically it should have that mathematical ability to figure out and fill up the other form of correctly or to make the necessary reports. That comes into the figure sense. Know how to prepare a report, having a good sense, mathematical abilities. That comes into the figure sense. Then the flexibility. Flexibility is more towards a good salesman is able to adapt himself to the variety of customer. That means each contact may require to adapt the sales talk, speak habits, and even appearance. That comes into the flexibility part. It should be flexible in their talks, their habits, their appearance. That shows the flexibilities part. Then the friendliness. Yes, a salesman should be able to make a people like him, and at the same time he must be likely to meet the other people. So that comes into the friendliness. When the person is actually able to manage that friendly behavior with their customer, so that comes into the friendliness. Then handwriting. Yes, it must be legible so that his paperwork can be readily understood by his office people and be by his customer. So that comes into the handwritings. Then the healthy part. The health part is more towards the good health generate the energy, and energy is need to sell out. So poor health prevent the many salesmen from the fulfilling their potential. That further leads towards the having a good health or having a good energy in your body. That further leads towards the more enthusiasticness. That comes into the healthiness. Then integrity. A salesman must be trusted to do his job well, and he can help but be successful when his customers trust him. So that comes into the integrity. Then interest in his job. That further leads towards that person should be very much interested of doing their job. He likes selling and working of the company. That comes interest in his job. Then the knowledge. In some businesses, an application must also be through the knowledge of the highly specialized product or services his employers offers. So in some cases, yes, this knowledge can be gained only by year of experience. So that is, yes, it is knowledge always come by the experiences, but yes, it's required to be the knowledgeable person. Then the loyalty. That means he must be able to impress upon his customers, and yes, at the same time the impress the customer and the ideas that his company is best in the business. That's the loyalty part towards the customer. That's the loyalty part towards the companies. Then the mental ability. He has the intelligence to understood the product, that the what is the competition, what's the product is. He must know how to use the word to understand, to direct the people, and to remain the name and faces. He should also be able to understand the prospective customer and know how to act under the varying condition. That comes into the mental ability. Then motivation. Yes, he must have a sense of how to motivate themselves. He must have more than just an interest in selling. That is, psychological has found that certain predominant pattern in a man who have become a really successful salesman. So they live in the present and not in the future. They used to motivate themselves. They used to perform in their organization, and they do want power over others and prefer not to work under the close supervision. That comes into the motivation part. Then self-control. Yes, the person must know how to handle the difficult people, difficult situations calmly, patiently. That comes into the self-control. Then speech. Yes, he can speak clearly and maturely in the natural tone. It can be emphasized the sale point with the sincerities and friendliness. So this is the speech. So this is all about the requirements of the good salesman. What was the things to be required in the good salesman? Now we were moving towards the Salesforce decision. Salesforce decision are basically discussing about the various kind of decisions was taken into the consideration while deciding on the any kind of a decisions making. So yes, sale force decisions are basically the simple basic concept. They were to allot the sale calls, किस तरीके से हम sales call को allot करेंगे, their promises and a higher sale return from the sales call. Sales call are basically that sales effectiveness or the sales areas जहाँ पर आपने जाके अपनी promotions करनी होती हैं. Sales call just to meet your customer, just to interact with your customer and giving the idea and a glance about the product. That is sale call. So the basic concept of decision making is to allocate the sale calls to account that promise the highest sale return from the sales call. Then another is optimum number of a call in term of a sales or a profit maximization. That person should know how the profit maximization is going to be done. What was the optimum number of a calls to be required to boost up or to bring a growth in the business. So that comes into the sales force decision. Then yes, the sale force size. Now we were going to discuss about the size part of the business. That means sale force size is basically how many number of people we required in the organization. What was the appropriate size of our sale personnel? So defining that appropriate size, then we need a two thing. That two thing is sales productivity and sale force turnover. Sale productivity is all about the ratio of a sales generate to the sales effort used. Whatever the effort put into the sales, that comes into the sales productivity. So in an early stage, yes, the addition of a sale people increased sale considerability more than the selling cost. As a sale people continue to be added, sales increase tend to decline until a point is reached when the cost to add a sale person are more than the revenue that the sale personnel can generate. This is the whole process of getting the sales productivity. Sale productivity is a kind of a technique through which we generate the sales, we generate the benefits, we generate the profit. So this is the concept. Company in the additional level, company used to do it. They're going to add on the person into their sale force. That is the point where they were continuously increasing the cost of the business also. This is what they tend to increase or tend to add that number of people in the business till then when they were actually equivalent to the cost of the revenue of the company. So that is the basic example of the sales productivity, that how we were going to decide the sale force. किस तरीके से हम sale force decide कर सकते हैं. This is a very basic method. That means if your cost of acquiring the sales size is equivalent to revenue of your sales, then it is the limit that organization need not to hire any kind of a sale personnel in the organization. Then sale force turnover. Yes, it is very costly. Turnaround or turnover is a kind of technique when the people of the organization used to, or the employee or a sale force of the organization used to go towards the other's job or the other's employment. So yes, it is very costly because company used to put certain training, used to put certain cost on the sales force, and if they leads towards the other, it again generate a cost on the company. And yes, it should be anticipated. It's required to be anticipated. It requires to be calculated according to the organization. Then the sales force size analytical tools. Yes, if we were discussing about the analytical tool, there were the three basic tools which is going to be analyzed. So the first one is the breakdown approach. Breakdown approach basically is to use to determine the number of a sale personnel need to generate a forecast level of a sale. This approach is easy to develop. However, it is a weak conceptual. But yes, the concept is underlining the calculation is that sales determine the number of a sale people needed, putting the carters before the horse. That means you have to decide your forecasting sale. After getting your forecasting sale, you divide them according to the average sale per person. The average sale you are actually looking towards the per person. This gives you the total number of a sale personnel which you actually required in the organization. So that is the basic concept of a sale force breakdown approach. That means you going, आप सबसे पहले अपनी एक एस्टिमेशन सेल को डिसाइड कीजिए. उस सेल को डिसाइड करने के बाद जो भी आपको लगता है, लाइक इफ आई डिसाइडेड द 10,000 इज माई फोरकास्ट सेल, और इस 10,000 को मैं डिवाइड करूंगी अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट 100 यूनिट इज गोइंग टू बी सेल बाय ईच पर्सनल. दैट मीन्स द 10,000 वॉज डिवाइडेड बाय 100. So that further leads towards I need 100 employee in my organization. So that comes the breakdown approach. It is the supposed example of that. Then workload approach is basically determining the how much sale effort is needed to adequately covering the firm's market. That means then the number of a sale personnel required to provide this amount of a sales effort is calculated. So this approach is relevantly simple to develop and is a sound conceptual. That means it is what getting the sales efforts कि कितने sales efforts आपको ज़रूरत है आपकी organization में, and after that you were going to conduct that number of a sales people. That means the formula of this is number of a sale people is equivalent to total selling effort needed, whatever the effort we were looking for, divided by average selling efforts per person. Per person कितने efforts put down करेगा, that gives you the number of sales personnel. So this is basically the workload approach. Then the incremental approach. The incremental approach is basically the more or less the similar to the ethical or the early approach we were discuss about. It is what compare the marginal profit and marginal cost associate with each incremental sale personnel. So the major advantage is that it quantify the important relationship between the sale force size, sales and cost. So this is what, however, this method is difficult to develop, but yes, it can be used for the new sale force where the historical data and accurate judgments are not possible. So in that terms, create your marginal profit. That means if you add a one person sale personnel in your company, what will the profit they generate and what kind of a cost they were going to generate it. This marginal profit and marginal cost basically associated with the incremental sale personnel, and this gives you the basic idea that where you actually want to stop by for hiring the other sale personnel. That is the same mentioning in that is 100, 101, 102, 103 is the sale personnel, but the marginal contribution is going to be declined. So when they were going to be similar like 102 in the stage of the sale 102 sale personnel, the marginal contribution is $75,000, but at the same time marginal cost is again $75,000. So when we hire 103 sale personnel, that one extra personnel, that further leads towards the higher cost and less profit. So that shows that 102 is the optimum size of getting the sale personnel in the organization. So this is the incremental approach. Now, yes, the recruitment and selection of the personnel. Yes, recruitment is again the kind of a process in which the searching the candidate of the employment and the stimulating them to apply for the jobs in the organization. So we can say that it is a kind of getting the pool of the employees in the organization, or getting or inviting them to have an applications in the organization for the particular job. So recruitment is basically the activity that links the employers and job seekers. It is a process of finding and attracting the capable applicant for the employment. So it is basically finding and attracting the capable applicants for the particular job opening. So what was the sources of recruitment? When we were discussing about the sources, they were the various sources of getting the recruitment. The first one is the advertisement. Advertisement is basically both a source of recruitment and a method of reaching them. That means newspaper, magazine, trade journal are the most widely used media for the advertisement. Advertisement ordinarily proceed large number of applicants in very short time, and yes, at the low cost. However, these factors may offset the increased expenses of a careful screening and the large number of prospectors, but the average quality of applicants may be questionable character. So in that case, yes, advertising can be done through with these mediums which we discussed, that is newspaper, magazines, trade journal, and by getting these medium we got the sale personnel who was actually interested in the particular kind of a job. So recruitment advertising mainly consists of the quality, qualifications, compensations, nature of job, these kind of things, and the company name is going to be conducted in that advertising. Then employment agency is the another source. Employment agencies, we can say that these are basically the agencies who were looking or getting the datas or resumes of the various sale personnel or the salesmen, and they further lead towards the recruiting or suggesting them to the other companies. It is the more or less a kind of a working of the consultancy firms in the today's market. So many companies use employment agencies to get the recruit of their sale position. That is basically the effective source. The sales manager must ensure that agency understand the company and its need thoroughly. So whenever an agency is used, it should have a clear understanding of job objective, job specification, literature about the company, and also the agency need a time to learn about employing the firm and its unique requirements. So thus considerable gain acquired from continuous relationship with the agency that perform the satisfactory. So that is the basic work or basic phenomena of the employment agency. Then the educational institution basically the source of indulging the college, universities, technical and vocational institute. These are what they were getting the students from technical, vocational institute or any kind of the specialized institute. They appear for the interviews, and they appear for the interview, these companies actually comes into their campus area. So that is what the education institution is, a kind of a technique. There was a campus placement or the placement cells of that various institute, and that cell is basically working for the job profile and contracting the different kind of a companies for the recruitment. Then internal transfer is all about the transferring of the person from one department to another department, or we can say that transferring the sale person to the another sale department. This is generally used along with the other recruitment sources. Transfer is a good prospectors for the sale position, whatever the product knowledge make up a substantial position for the sale training, but they were very much familiar with the reason behind that person is very much familiar with the company's objective, policies, programs. That further leads towards the more profitable kind of a technique to filling up the particular position in the another area or another department. Then salesman of competing company. Yes, if you hire the salesperson of your competing company on the ground of hiring them on the very higher salaries, on the very higher facilities. So these kind of a technique was used by the company just to get the the salesperson of a competing company. Then the salesman of a non-competing company. Salesman of a non-competing company is basically is the salesman which have a competing salesman skills. They have a salesman knowledge. They have a salesman experience. That further leads towards the salesman part. That means individual is currently was employed as a salesman for oftenly recruit prospective, and they have a good experience in the salesmanship, so they were going to be recruited. So these are the various sources through which we can get the proper salesman in the organization and effective salesman in the organization. Then the training and development which is provided to the salesman. Training is basically a process of altering the employee's behavior and attitude in the way that increase the profitability of the goal attainment. That is basically providing them a knowledge, giving them a skills, giving them an understanding about the behavior, about the attitude, or try to change their behaviors and attitude according to the organization's environment and organization scenarios. So this is what the training is, a process of altering the employee's behavior and yes, attitude in a way of increasing the profitability. उस तरीके से which basically leads towards the profitability of the organization. So what are the features of training? Yes, training objectives are tied to the organization business objective. It is basically or according to the business objective. Whatever the objective of a business, training further leads towards the training objective. When training is the modular, so it can be adapted to the working place schedule. That means it always according to the work areas. Then training is the tailor of a trainee need and learning style. It should be according to their learning style and their needs, what they actually want to learn. Then training structure allow the employees to learn at their own pace. This is what the training structure is basically giving them an idea to how to perform in the particular organization according to their understanding and according to their pace. Then the trainees provide the regular and ongoing feedback concerning the process while it's a training program. So it is more towards the regular process of getting the feedback from the sales personnel about the market and about the training program. So yes, this is now the picture is mentioning is about the Training process is basically determining the mission of the organization. You just understand the basic objective of the organization, what is the objective and how we were performing. After understanding that objective, further lead towards the job description. Understanding कि किस job के person को trainings दी जा रही है. If it's a marketing job, so yes, you need to understand about the job description. After getting that job description, further leads towards the training needs assessment. That means there was a training needs who were actually arises, or the training why it is required to giving them a training. After that, decide most important objective and priorities. Work on the priority factors, work on the objective factor. What was the initial or the sensitive part which you have to actually perform it. Then evaluate the curriculum. What will you going to be discussed in that training area, and then finally evaluate the result of a training. Getting the result from that particular training is the last part of your training process. So now there is few questions which you have to do it yourself. First is explain the recruitment and selections of the salesman. Give the definition of salesman and why salesman recruitment can be done. After that, the another question is explain the method of a sales force size. You have to explain all the three methods of a sales force size through which we can determine it. So yes, this is all about for the today's session. We were winding up here. So thank you so much. Happy learning. We learn.